Hey, good morning, guys. How you going? Well, here's my workshop looking a little bit cleaner than it did the other day, the last time I showed you. I've fixed up, pimped up my old desk. And there's my other desk. I've worked it out so I've got like two desks now, but there can also be one. Now, it's nothing fancy, my little bench, but it's kind of good. I'll show you, I'll go through a couple of the practical things for you. So I'll try and turn the camera around. There we go. That's better. Okay, so first of all, I've got the new MDF top. I've got the little chamfered bits. I've chamfered all the holes, the 20mm holes. I've buffed it back with Osmocoat. I keep calling it Osmocoat. You know, I do gardening. It's called Osmo Oil. I heard the last video. I kept thinking, oh, Steve, it's not Osmocoat. God, it's Osmo Oil. Anyway, I did it. There's 3 coats on here. The last coat I actually burnished in with using the a Festool Rotex with a white vial, I think they call them, or Ville or something like that. Anyway, that tends to sort of burnish in the last coat. But anyway, I'll just go through some of the things and what I'd sort of done. Okay, so all the holes here, of course, are 96 millimeter spacings. The end waterfalls down, and I pinched this from Dave Stanton, so sorry, Dave. And that's that these holes here align with those holes running down vertically here, which is a great idea. Which means when you put 2 pieces of timber together, they line up. So what I did is I've recessed some Kreg track here, both vertically. There goes the rubbish trucks. It's probably making noise in the background. There's horizontal track up here and here. The entry points I routed out to here, which allows the clamp to go in, and also at this end as well. The track is set down about 1 millimetre from the bench, so I don't sort of wreck my nice track too much. And the same on the sides. But of course, it's got a timber support and a timber support here. So when you're clamping something against this, it's held nice and firm. Now, this is where at the moment, this is just temporarily, I've got a few dogs and that just off the side. This is my big 600 by 600 aluminium square, which is just sitting there at the moment, using the dog holes as my way of holding it in. But I'm going to build it. I'm going to use the old bench to the other side. Now, the reason why I've pulled this back from the edge was, number one, so it gets protected a bit more. But secondly, this is sort of like a sacrificial edge. So if it gets wrecked over time, I'm sure it will, I can just replace that. So I go and end up with a nice edge. So at the end here, you'll see these tubes coming through. Because of the way I made this ages ago, I took advantage of just keeping with the same bench that I had before. I actually put some tubes here, which is now keeping my woodpecker rulers, which I've got sort of easily accessed in here. Now, if we come around to the other side, so I'm going to put the old hold bit in here as an infill, and this way can hold a lot of my MFT sort of bits and pieces to be readily at hand. Now, on this side here, which is a bit hard to get squeezy to get at, this is my side where I've got my Vaxis set up. So I made some new I'll sneak through here. I made some new little supports here, which will hang off the Festool rail. Of course, this is where I keep my vacuum and the spare boxes with all the spare heads in. And this is down here, this is my new TSC 55. Fantastic saw, this one. Really like it. But it's a huge big box. So I'm running out of room in this place. Yeah, so this is this bench. It works great. These clamps are fantastic. I bought this track from America because they didn't sell it here in Australia, and the long track also has a entry point halfway through, which I thought was very clever. So yeah, I can clamp down horizontally, and I can clamp down vertically as such. So yeah, that's a great system now, and I've just used it the other day. I'll take this out here. I'll take this out there. Push that aside. These are good. You probably wonder what they were, but these are good little little units which Craig have got, which you can. Whoops. Trying to get it into one hand. They're just a little T-section that fit into the, oh dear. This is always difficult one-handed. Right. So they go along here, and if you're constructing something where you can have some along there, some along here, and then you've got some board, you can push your board up against, like so. Now, because I cleaned the workshop up, I've moved all the board outside. But as you can see, it's like a stop, and you can sort of square up with this way, because all the holes are square, obviously, and the bench is perfectly square because I squared it all up. Now, because I've got the nice top, this is kind of good to work on as such, but when I come round to my old bench, which is over here, which is my other bench, this is my old one, which I'm still renovating as well, but it's also got a new top on as well. But for my day-to-day operations, I usually put on this 6mm rubber matting, which I think is fantastic because, you know, as you can see, I'm just building something for my little vise here, which can go onto the system over the side here. This has got the Festool rails on. I left the Festool rails on both sides of this one. It has a little neat little end bit that I could fit in some of my foam rubber that I want. Again, the Festool over here. So I can spin, because the other thing too, from my old caster, I had some really old casters which were really little ones, but I got these ones which were good. These ones are lockable and more heavy duty than the other one, which means the benches can move around more. So I can get access to my sustainers here, my sustainers there, and there are some more sustainers in there. But it depends on how I configure my bench as such. And now it gives me room in my workshop here to be able to walk around. I can walk down here and work on this bench separately here, and this is where my sort of saw is. Due to the salt air down here, I try to put a cover on my bench. I try to put a cover on my bench because the sea air is brutal. I trimmed this down yesterday. It was a big job. I've got to put some extra brackets in for my Incra saw fence, but these were sticking out like so, and I've only got a very narrow bit between there and there to be able to walk. But everything's on wheels. All my sustainers are on wheels. I've got carts for every sustainer. I mean, over here, you've got another stack of sustainers running like through, like so. But this is generally my workshop. There's more sustainers along there for where my normal operations are. So generally, oh, that's right, I had to find a spot for my clamp, so I used a bit of the old scrap which I cut off the black MDF top to hang my my clamps up. They're easy accessible. I put the holes on a slight bit of an angle backwards so the clamps don't fall forward if they get knocked around. I put some magnets. I love these little Craig units. I think they're great. I got one from Woodpeckers, but I don't think it's as good as the ones from Craig. I like the ones from Craig. They're easy to use and they're great. So this is my little bit of a workshop. It's a bit messy around here. This is where you got kind of, this is your stuff wall. Come around here. This is my Craig table, which has been pimped up. My drill, which has kind of been pimped up with Craig rails. So I got a lot of Craig everywhere, and that way you got more of a system. It's my belt sander, big long belt sander. It's where my Dusty sits in the corner, and of course feeds across through the pipes, which just, well, the pipes just hang on zip ties. I have gates everywhere, and that way then, you know, I can sort of lock it off if I want. Here's my, which just goes right down to my saw. This is just hanging there loose at the moment because I'm still in the middle of doing things. See, this is when it's small, you keep bashing into things. So when I see a lot of guys with their workshops, which are huge, I think, wow, what a luxury that'd be to be able to not bash into things when I'm trying to work around. But then my mate Kev Steer from the UK, he has an amazingly small spot, so I shouldn't complain, and I shouldn't complain at all because my very, very first workshop was actually 6 foot by 6 foot. Now I couldn't even put this equipment in anything 6 foot by 6 foot. In fact, I'm probably going to have to move soon. Unfortunately, the owners, we're unsure about what the owners are doing, so we might end up having to move. Hopefully I'm going to move to the country and maybe get a place which has got a really big shed. Okay, so, well, there you go. There's a bit of a tour of the shop and what I've been doing. So now it's project time. I've got to get back to making my granddaughters their bunk beds. So I'll be throwing a few tool reviews here and there. But all in all, I'm pretty happy with what I've created in the last few days, or should I say the last week. It takes a little bit of while, as we all know, to build our benches that we like and we're happy with. I'm happy with mine. It's very versatile. It's a bench which it can pretty much do what I want it to do. I've got another rubber mat which I'll throw over the top of that when I'm doing rough stuff. The rubber mats are great when you've actually constructed something and you're flipping it around and you're bashing it down and whatever, all that sort of stuff. You're not wrecking your nice bench. Now I know they're work benches, but it's nice to work on it sometimes when you're doing some clean work. But really, with the clamping system, you only want to be doing it when you're doing assembly and things like that. But just for general things, I like just using the rubber. All right, guys, well, there's a bit of a tour today, and I'll see you next time. Okay, cheers, bye.